Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Sorry for being gone again. I managed to acquire a second sickness after getting over the other one about a week later, so that's why there hasn't been any videos for about a week. But so I'm be getting over it here soon. I should be back to making more videos, so that'll be nice. Can't wait. So while kind of thinking to myself about the the common question everybody's asking right now, or one of the more important topics right now in the community about which banner should you roll on, Child or Hu Tao. I sort of stumbled upon a topic that is a little bit more interesting, a little bit more important, and this kind of has to do with discussing the inherent value of units to an account and kind of like the real way you should go about deciding which units are worth your primo gems or worth your investment. So we're just gonna be hopping into that and seeing what I got to say about it. So we're just gonna have a look here at all the different characters, and to kind of start this off, we kind of need to think about which are obviously. This is more aimed towards people whose goal is to clear the current endgame content, Spiral Abyss, and assuming that most future content will involve multiple teams as well, not just a single team of powerful units. But even then, a lot of logic still applies. But it's important to think about not just how a unit you roll for affects one team, but how it affects both teams. Does this particular unit pull super strong supports in one direction or the other? Does this unit require strong supports I currently lack on my account? How much does this character maybe require a weapon or something I am limited by? Now, the last one can be limited a lot, but the main ones are just, you can't have a Bennett on both sides of the abyss, so you figure out a way around that. Because of that, certain units that might necessarily be lower than others on tier lists for power are actually more valuable roles for your account. I think kind of like the most obvious kind of example of this is our units like Zhao and Eula, who are both very powerful units in their own right and can be worth the roll, but seeing as they are, they have their team, you need certain units built, and you need to use certain units with them. So, if you don't need another main DPS, or if you can't free up those units, they lose value. Or, the most obvious example of this is actually the two characters that are relevant right now, which is Hu Tao versus Tartaglia, where Hu Tao currently eats one of the strongest support units, Jingqiu, away from Zhangling. So if you don't have a second team already built to the point where you no longer need Zhangling, you can run into issues if you do not have Child to replace Jingqiu on your Zhangling team. And this is kind of where this kind of falls, is that for most people, Tartaglia is actually a better role than Hu Tao, despite Hu Tao being the better unit. And this is kind of just due to what this allows your account to do, because now you have a free Jingqiu. What that means is you can go for a freeze. You can go for a Ganyu freeze, you go for a Ayaka freeze, or you could go for an Electro Charge count with Beidou, Kaching, someone like that, or now you could go into a second Pyro carry. You could run Diluc, you could run Hu Tao, you could run Yoimiya, you can run Yanfei, because you have access to the second water unit. There are other characters with very similar things where, let's say a character like Ganyu, for example, right? Ganyu is a fantastic unit and very powerful, but she is powerful inside of a specific team. And if you don't have that team, she's still gonna be good, but she might pull units away from other teams that you need to be careful and mindful about rolling. If your goal is to get into endgame Spiral Abyss as fast as possible and to build the best teams, this is very important to consider when rolling. If you want to go for Ganyu, that's great, but you kind of have to accept that unless you have Venti and Mona as well, you're not really going to be able, you can only kind of just get an okay team out of her. Obviously, she still can be good inside of a Melt Zhangling comp, but that's putting Zhangli and Ganyu together, two of the best DPS characters of the game. Now, obviously, some accounts you could do that. If you've been playing a long time, you're a light spender, or you're a whale, you could do that. You could put Zhangli with Ganyu and have your other side be Hu Tao, no problem. But if you're thinking about this from a meta perspective, from a strength perspective, from an investment perspective, you want to be very careful, especially with main DPS units, with the resources they require compared to other characters on your account, and more specifically, obviously, the supports they require. This is why, despite sometimes maybe there being power level issues, I think supports are generally a better role, or enablers in the case of someone like Child. Someone like, say, Albedo could essentially go with any other Geo character, or it could just be added on any team. But someone like, say, Kazuha, for example, can be used to enable a whole bunch of different teams, and essentially opens up another strong Anemo, Venti one side, Kazuha the other side kind of thing as an option. Another thing to consider when you talk about a lot of these characters and whether you should roll or save for them is, do you have the characters to support them? I mentioned Ganyu with Venti and Mona, but there's others. There's like, for Zhao, you really want Zhongli. You could play him without him, but due to how hard an Emo shred is to get and how expensive it is, you're talking needing stuff like high constellation Ventis and high constellation Genes in order to be able to get an Emo shred. Zhongli, you really kind of want him to play Zhao. Ito, who could be coming out soon, I'm just kind of assuming he's a Geo main DPS, not really looked at leaks, but look at him, he's probably a DPS. But he's probably going to need either Albedo or Zhongli, or maybe both. If he can't shield himself and he wants energy, he might need both of them. So this means that on your second team, you have to have either, not need these guys, or if you don't have either of these guys on your account, you get significantly less value. This also goes with being careful about characters that have little intrinsic value. For example, you could say someone like Zhao is worth the sacrifice of the fact that you essentially need to make sure you have you want Zhongli for him. You want to make sure you're building around him. Maybe he has to pull Bennett or Sucrose away from another team. Maybe that's worth it because he himself is powerful. But someone like Yoimiya or Klee that are just kind of mid, if you already have someone built like Zhangling, you don't really need a unit like this, regardless of whether she was good or not, because these two are going to pull Jingqiu away from Zhangling if you don't have Tartaglia. Also, some other things to keep in mind is rolling for units of similar purpose is generally ill-advised, especially if you're talking DPSs. Really simple one. Ganyu and Kamisato Ayaka basically want the same team with only a swap in a Nemo character as the main difference between the two. Ayaka favoring Kazuha and Venti favoring Ganyu. This is due to the way Ganyu's ult interacts with the suction from Venti, enabling a strong reaction there, whereas Kazuha's generally better for Ayaka as she could still hit stuff inside of his black hole kind of thing. And yeah, this is kind of like something to consider, is that it's not always about rolling for the character who hits the highest or the character who has the most meta team. It's about rolling for the character that enables the best team for you on both sides. That's also about, this can equally go for stuff like investment as well. It's about investing in characters that open up the two best sides for you. This is kind of just like a video or a topic I was thinking about how when, a lot of people, when they ask what character should I roll, or you see a lot of videos about what character should I roll, they essentially just tell you what the characters do, and are like, oh, if you need a hydro applicator, go this. If you need a fire damage person, go this, without really mentioning, like, yeah, there is some saying between, oh, if you need hydro, go child. If you need pyro, go Hu Tao. But at the end of the day, there actually is an answer to this question, and it's child for the most part, because of how he interacts with the rest of the roster. Child decouples Jingchu from Zhangling, opening up second pyro. And it's important to know about how these characters interact with each other when considering rolling for them. This is kind of just like a short talk video I kind of wanted to make while I was thinking about it. Upcoming videos we're going to have the child guide coming out relatively soon. I still have to finish like messing around with mine. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be, you know, some decent information. I'm working on a much longer team building guide, probably going to be upwards of an hour and a half long video about just going over everything humanly possible about team building. So if you're looking forward to that, I'm going to have that out, I don't know, sometime maybe 2 or 3 weeks. We obviously have Hu Tao coming up. We have streams resuming soon, so I hope you join us over on Twitch. But yeah, thank you for coming by and listening. And if you have any points about this topic you'd like to mention, I'd like you to put in the comments below, and I'd like to, you know, maybe kind of discuss this a bit more whenever more characters come out. Is we could try to shift this talk away from purely which character is actually better and start focusing more on which characters make accounts better. But just hope you have a good night, and hope you have a pleasant tomorrow.